Remake, remaster. They seem to be terms tossed around very loosely in the game scene. Remasters to me are simply enhanced editions of previously released games. A remaster, though, is going further. Using the tech of the present, they either recreate, adopt, or reimagine a previously released game. So where does that leave Resident Evil 3 Remake? Well, to me, it's a reimagining, clearly based on the original RE3, taking its premise and running with it. But it isn't concerned with recreating anything to the point that many old school fans are disheartened that it lacks so many aspects of the original. I, on the other hand, have no such qualms. While I see it as less ambitious than the Resident Evil 2 remake, it's still a hell of a fun game to play. Now, I'm someone who does like action Resident Evil. Maybe not to the extent of RE6, but the over-the-shoulder shooter gameplay of RE4 is simply the best. Nothing feels better to me than controlling a weighty-feeling character, having to press that left trigger to aim, and the feeling of tension to make those shots count. With no cover system, it puts an emphasis on spatial awareness as your vision is purposely obscured, and it puts the pressure on the aiming. Resident Evil feels like a perfect fit for this. Suppose limited ammo makes you want to not waste your shots. It can be tense to go into aim mode as zombies and other creepy enemies keep approaching you. Resident Evil 3 continues the good gunplay, but it's obviously more action-oriented than RE2 Remake. But is that a bad thing? Not in my opinion. What's here feels quicker paced and more aggressive than RE2. At least in my first playthrough of RE2, zombie encounters had an air of mystery to them. Engaging them was a slower affair, and it felt a bit random in knowing if they were down for the count. That was great for RE2, as that game to me is a masterpiece of actual survival horror game design. In 3, the zombies aren't as menacing and seem easier to dispatch, and I felt encouraged rather through increased resources or feeling more able-bodied to take them out. Unlike RE2, it felt easier to gun all the enemies down instead of choosing to avoid them. A difference in survival feeling, yes, but still, gunning them down is super fun. And these RE games are always good at giving you the choice of tools to do so. Stay a safe distance with the pistol, or run in with max damage with the shotgun, or go easy mode with the grenade launcher. It will never come close to the tool set of RE4, but what's here is still thoughtful and creates an agency of weapon choice, helped by the better enemy variety in 3. Doesn't beat 2 in level design though. The Raccoon City department in 2 feels like an actual place, and as you play that game, you become very familiar with its nooks and crannies, planning strategies of how to travel around it. Downtown Raccoon City just doesn't have that personality, atmosphere, or interconnectedness. It tries, and the opening hour does feel like a smaller scale version of that idea, but that's actually kind of what's stuck with me about Resident Evil 3 Remake. It feels like a smorgasbord of Resident Evil. Each area feels like a bite-sized Resident Evil level concept. Downtown is the interconnected level design. The sewers attempt to play with your item management with the door key. You get a more atmospheric level with the return to the RPD. The hospital is more tight corners. It includes the now requisite hold off a bunch of enemies invading a room scene, and it concludes with some good old backtracking. And then, in RE fashion, a lab is the ending. Nothing may stand out. Well, I'd say the Drain Demos Hive is good, and a lot of it may be too small scale to really leave any fond memories, but I appreciate the game's variety and quick pace. You may be in places for too quick, but I never felt I was there for too long. I love RE4, but lots of people can admit the castle drags. While it's short on content, I wonder if that's a big problem. I've played RE3 3 times across all platforms, and it's fun each time. The game encourages replays with the ranking and shop system even. Its quick pace, straightforward level design, and faster paced gameplay all make multiple playthroughs easier to digest as well. But I don't mind replaying because also the story is solid enough. Since 7, Capcom has attempted to tone down the silliness in Resident Evil's writing, making them sound more natural in English. I think it mostly works. Resident Evil's story is simple but effective. It's a basic escape the doomed city action story, but nothing is too out there or ridiculous. It's all ground level, and this version of Jill is pretty likable. I think Capcom did a good job creating an action hero, toning down the TNA, and instead designing a very athletic-looking and sensibly dressed character. But they also didn't make the mistake of making Jill obnoxiously in your face. She feels realistically efficient and experienced, competent, smart, and tough. She's ridden like, well, a member of a special police unit. Her interactions with Carlos, who is also very likable in his earnest, empathetic personality, is very fun. It's the typical structure. They start off a little cold and warm up as they learn to trust each other, and this happens without devolving into a lame, cheap romance. It all feels like grounded soldier people just doing their best to survive. The villain, Nikolai, is maybe a bit too, hey, I'm from Eastern Bloc sounding mercenary villain, but all in all, the story and writing here doesn't really step outside its lane for the best. But the real star of the show is the monstrous villain Nemesis, or rather he should be. If Resident Evil 3 is known for anything, it's Nemesis. But sadly, Nemesis here feels neutered. What should have been a constant worry instead feels like a set piece in some boss battles. It doesn't really live up to the potential that was glimpsed with Mr. X in RE2 Remake. It's a shame because in the downtown area, during the portion where you can have Nemesis wandering around, he does add quite a bit of panic. While I don't mind the boss battles, it simply feels like there should be more. But you know what? In my third playthrough of RE3, I asked myself, do I even care? No, not really. I still had a lot of fun. For more unsolicited takes on anime, video games, and movies, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.